Good evening. I'd like to call to order the April meeting of the Monroe County Public Library Board of Trustees. And we'll begin this evening by going around and introducing ourselves and sharing something that you might be reading if you would care to. So, David, how about we start with you?
Hi, my name is David Ferguson. I'm reading a book called Outlive by Dr. Peter Attia.
I'm Chris Harrison, and I have been listening to a series called The Blackthorn Keys, I think. Anyway, I'm on the fourth book, so they're a wonderful listen, so I highly recommend them.
I'm Greer Carson. I am reading The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker, and my family and I are in an intense level building competition with Mario Maker 2 for the Switch.
I'm Jamie Burkhart. I unfortunately am not doing any pleasure reading right now and doing a lot of professional development nonfiction.
I am Kari Essery, and I am reading The Comprehension Blueprint. Woohoo! I'm also reading a mystery novel, murder mystery called The Cloisters.
Hi, I'm Fred Reisinger, and as usual, I'm reading about U.S. history and politics, and I'm reading about, I can't remember the book's name, but it is a book that discusses vice presidents and people who were secretaries of state, all, and then links them to the president that they were serving and how that they helped that president achieve his goals, which is kind of fun for a guy who teaches history.
Kathy Loser, I'm reading a collection of short stories called Small Odysseys.
All right. All right, we'll begin tonight with our consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 22nd public hearing on additional appropriations, the minutes of the March 22nd board meeting, monthly financial report, monthly bills for payment, personnel report, and board meeting calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any questions or comments regarding any of these items? I would just personally like to say a fond farewell to Kyle Wickemeyer-Hardy, who is retiring at the end of this month. So we have been very blessed to have Kyle leading our Human Resources Department for many years, and she will be sorely missed. She's unfortunately not here tonight, but anyway. Oh, she is. Oh, there she is. Yay. So, Kyle, thank you so much for all you've done, and you will be very, very missed by all of us, but we wish you well in your retirement and hope you have a lot of enjoyment in the years to come.
Hear, hear.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda items signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay, next, we're going to move on to Greer and his monthly director's report.
Okay, so a few highlights for this month. First, I want to share an update on the opening day collection for the Southwest branch. It's mentioned in the report a couple of times. The collections themselves are ready for shipment and will arrive at Southwest on May 11th and May 16th, respectively. We're working with our content development and circulation services departments to coordinate receiving all of the collection boxes, unboxing the items, sorting the items to carts, and ultimately shelving everything well in advance of the June 9th grand opening. We will have a little over 25,000 items in the collection in total, and this is compared to just over 60,000 at Ellettsville, which I want to qualify a little bit. First of all, Ellettsville has too many items. We haven't been weeding at Ellettsville for a very long time, so that number should be a lot lower. But more importantly, we're deliberately starting the Southwest collection at a lower number of total items so that we can be responsive to community needs. We want to grow that collection based largely on what the folks using that branch are really interested in. And so we're going to have a lot of room for growth with 25,000 plus items. Another clarification regarding the suppression of Southwest items from public view in the catalog. All this means is that we have the item records in hand already and they're in our catalog, but if they were viewable, they would trigger holds for people who've placed requests on them, or we would get more requests for holds and folks would have to wait a long time. So we actually suppress them from public view even though the records are actually there. So that's what that comment means in the director's report. Pleased to share that the County Council approved our request for additional appropriations at their April 11th meeting for the Southwest Branch construction and the operating fund coverage. In library marketing news, our YouTube views doubled from February to March, thanks in part to a great cross-shared TikTok video promoting our baking kits, which you'll hear more about soon. We held our second annual seed swap in partnership with Mother Hubbard's Cupboard and saw more than 60 attendees. And last month marked the one-year anniversary of Happio, our new staff intranet platform. The Happio steering team held a Happio birthday event to coincide with surveys sent out to staff for feedback on the use and impact on internal communications that Happio has had. And finally, March saw us reach over 800 room reservations for the month, and this is the first time we've hit that mark since the start of the pandemic. Happy to answer any questions about the director's report.
I did have one question. It said that you and Josh had been meeting with peer libraries and the Indiana Library Federation to understand some of the impact that some of the bills that have been going through our legislature have been having on public libraries. Are there any in particular that we should be aware of that are going to affect the public library directly?
Not directly. The two bills in question were SB 12, which has an impact on school library collection development practices and reconsideration request practices. And then there was an additional House bill proposed, HB 380, that attempted to bring public libraries back into that discussion. Our updates from the ILF advocacy group are that neither one of those bills is moving forward as planned. So that's good news in terms of collection development, intellectual freedom. But we're watching and talking with our peers about it. So, yeah.
Good to know. Anything else for Greer? Okay. Next item is our old business, and we're going to start off with an update on our Southwest branch, which is getting closer to opening.
Very close. We're in the final stretch in terms of finishing the building's exterior and finalizing many of the interior details. The parking lot is now paved as of yesterday, fully striped. Some of us who went there this morning got to use parking spaces. The automatic materials handler, or AMH, arrived on Monday and is being installed as we speak. This is the same machine and company that we use here downtown and at Ellettsville, and it's actually the very same model machine as what we have at Ellettsville. Interior paint, doors, and door hardware and light fixtures are near completion throughout the building. Plumbing fixtures are being installed this week. We're making some final adjustments to interior building signage. We still have a number of change orders expected for May. A lot of these we've talked about for a few months now, including minor interior adjustments to electrical outlet placement, additional bulkheads in some of the rooms, particularly bathrooms, and again, some final adjustments to interior signage. We are looking to switch from grass seed to sod for the amphitheater seating area so that when we open up on the 9th, it's complete. And the long-awaited temporary heating bill that we discussed that would run from December through February will finally come our way in May. So we hope to bring all of these as final change orders for the project to the May 17th board meeting. We have completed our Southwest manager search and are now interviewing for Southwest librarian and library assistant positions. And VIP tours of the new branch begin on Monday, May 1st. I will share some schedule options with you all for separate trustee tours in the coming days, and we'll schedule those so that we can go out there in groups of 1 or 2. And there's a ton of planning for the opening party that is in the hands of capable Lorraine Martin, so I won't go into details, but there's a lot going on in that planning too. So happy to answer any Southwest questions.
I just have a comment that some former students of mine who are now parents, and they are so excited, and they emailed me and said we're so excited our children can finally walk to the library, and they're very excited about it. So
It is, yeah.
it warms my heart.
Yes, indeed. A lot of conversations with residents in that area who, whatever the questions or concerns or insights they share, they always end with, I am so glad a library branch is going right across the street from my house. I'll be able to walk, my kids be able to walk. This is all going to be so great. So that is certainly a shared vibe.
Any other questions or comments about the Southwest update? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to another item of old business, and that is a financial gift For a couple of months now, we have been referring to a gift from a local family, and tonight we are pleased to announce that Brian and Jessica Hain have graciously donated an amount of $215,000 to the Friends of the Library in order to be used at our new Southwest branch to pay for the amphitheater and a labyrinth. So we are very excited about that. The library agrees to name the Southwest Branch Amphitheater the Hain Amphitheater by the Woods. Hopefully all of you have had a chance to read through the draft agreement. The only thing missing from that agreement is the date that the pledge amount should be transferred into the money market account at Baird. So that's something that we will decide on a bit later. But other than that, tonight we are voting to approve this gift. So do I have a motion to approve the gift and the naming of the Hain family, of the Hain Amphitheater by the Woods letter?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussions about? Okay. All those in favor of approving the donation and the naming of the amphitheater and the labyrinth signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. And again, it's with our gratitude that we accept this gift from the Hains. Thank you so much. Right. Moving on to new business. We have a resolution for declaring some equipment surplus. So do we have a motion to approve the, oh, I'm sorry, there was one more I needed to approve. Pardon me. We also had a letter included in the packet from Bunger and Robertson to explain that they represented both the library and the Hain family in the gift to the library, so and that there was no conflict of interest. So we need to make a motion to approve having the library represent both parties in this situation. So do we have a motion?
Second.
Okay. Any comments or discussion on that? All those in favor of approving this agreement signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Now we're going to get to move on to
Question.
the.
Are the Hains here tonight?
Yes, they are.
Could we just have them stand and maybe
Yes,
give them
absolutely.
a round of applause? So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have some items to declare surplus. So do we have a motion to approve the resolution to declare these items surplus? Anyone with a motion?
So moved.
Do you have- Okay. And Gary, do you want to discuss what we're surplusing?
Yes, we are surplusing some obsolete computers and printers, mainly desktop computers, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Will these just go to recycling? Like,
Yes, we have a service that picks that stuff up for recycling.
Right. All those in favor? Oh, go ahead.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Just something that's been curious in my mind. I know the Friends of the Library operates the bookstore, and I was thinking about the IU surplus store. Is it a possibility that some of the surplus can go to the Friends of the Library, or that's something that we don't involve?
Sometimes we do that. So the
Okay.
iPads that we surplus last
Mhm.
month are something we were looking to sell through the.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
It's good to know. Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of the resolution to declare these items surplus signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Next is just more of an announcement, but just keeping in mind, summer is rolling around, and that's time for vacations and traveling and just relaxing by the pool and all kinds of fun things. However, we do still continue our meetings during the months of May, June, July, and August, and we do have a lot of big things on those agendas. So we will be starting our discussion of the budget in July. We'll be updating hearing some updates on the strategic plan, as well as we'll start working on a new board member orientation plan. And there's also going to be some reports on the staff climate survey, as well as several department updates. So just a reminder to everyone to make sure, as you are making your travel plans, to try to make sure you make it to the library board meetings as much as possible. If not, please let Lorraine know. Sometimes we get a little tight on needing quorums for those meetings. So please make sure, if you're not going to be here, to please let Lorraine know as early as possible, so that way we can plan ahead and do some rescheduling if we need to ahead of time. So thank you so much for considering that. Next, we're going to move on to some department updates. So first, we're going to hear about public services and programming from Josh Wolf.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for your time. I'll try to keep this update super short, so there'll be more time for my colleagues to talk about something more interesting like baking kits. I've only been in my current role of Director of Public Services for a year and a half, or a year and some change. In fact, the role itself is only that old. It was created out of recommendations from the continuous improvement teams, which identified the need for dedicated public services departments for each of our audiences and closer supervision and support for everyone within those departments. From an administrative perspective, we also recognize the need for more consistency across service points, particularly with regard to patron account and circulation procedures. Just as all frontline staff now have a department manager who both supervises and works closely alongside of them, I supervise and work closely alongside of the department managers of children's, teens, adult, Ellettsville, and very soon the Southwest branch. My position is kind of unique in that although I am a member of the administration team, I often work on the desks and do programs and fill in wherever necessary and provide hopefully a crucial link that flows both ways whenever possible across staff. I also take lead in much of the public services hiring, labor management team, and union relations, and grant writing. So this all was kind of particularly helpful recently as we began implementing the changes recommended by staff during our compensation study. We renamed the senior information assistant position library assistant, which is pretty much what every other library in the world calls them, and which helps not only recruitment, but also supports the resumes of our staff. As they move on in their career, they've got a job title they've worked at that potential other libraries would recognize. We also eliminated the legacy circulation clerk positions, which we had at that point called information assistants. There were only 6 of them left at the time. But we made them library assistants as well, which allows them to support programming, work on large-scale projects, and really dig into stuff that expand our services and help our patrons. I also supervise and support our programming coordinator, Dana Duffy, and we work together across departments to manage some of those bigger system-wide partnerships with organizations such as Indiana University, programs that touch multiple audiences. And we see that as critically important going forward as we become something brand new to us, a 3-branch system, which will be really good. We want to keep programming more consistent, spread cool things that one building is doing across another. And this is a great time right now. There's a lot of new trends. There's a lot of new programs we're experimenting with. Teen Services has an Ivy Tech partnership this summer that they're going to do career training. People come in and just expose the teens to things like welding and culinary arts. Children's Services has overhauled summer reading. It's been the same for many years and very successfully, but they decided to start expanding it. So that's going to look really different this year. And we're busting out with all kinds of cooking programs in adult in the Seed Library. So those are kind of new directions we're heading in, and we want to kind of keep an even keel as we go forward and some consistency from location to location. Is there any questions for me? You guys are just already thinking about the baking kits, right? Yeah, okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Okay, and now we are going to hear from the Library Innovation Grant winners who started baking kits here at the library. So that will be Kim Baker, Lily Jennis, and Paula Gray Overton.
First, I want to thank you all for having us today, this evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Kim Baker, and I'm the children's librarian out at the Ellisville Branch Library. This is Paula Gray Overton, who's our web administrator, and Lily Jennis, who is a library assistant here in the children's department downtown. And we're excited to talk to you today about the 2022 Innovation Grant project, which is the baking kits. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we got started on this, and then I'm going to turn it over to Paula and Lily, who are going to talk more about the kits in general. So back in October of 2021, there was a call put forth to all staff for suggestions for that innovation grant, and shortly thereafter, Paula sent out an email to all the staff, basically asking if anyone would like to join her working toward creating some circulating baking supplies. And then Lily, myself, and our now retired adult librarian, Bobby Overman, who's here tonight, all volunteered, and we started working on this project. One of the really important things to do when you start a big project like this is to ask these questions like why and why now? And there were several reasons for that. The first one is that we felt the baking kits, it's a very timely and worthwhile project, right, is aligned with our 2022 Innovation Grant theme, which was to turn people into patrons, and then also to take, to kind of level up our existing patrons, their user status, right? To draw in even more new patrons, we partnered with People's Market, and that offered a new avenue for individuals to learn about the library and just get excited about our materials. The second reason here is that baking kits align with the library's overarching goal to provide free and equitable access to materials and to support lifelong learning. So many would-be bakers, right, who are prevented from baking or increasing their baking skills just because of the cost prohibitive aspect of baking tools. And then the third reason is that the kits align with the library's goal to respond to community needs. So in our 2020 strategic planning survey, patrons indicated that they wanted baking tools as part of our Library of Things. And then additionally, these kits, we felt, act as a really great response to the amount of interest that we're seeing in Southwest Branch's future teaching kitchen. And then the last reason here I'll put in is that libraries are hubs for literacy development, and that baking is a highly literacy-based activity. So it fits really seamlessly into our goals to support literacy, lifelong learning, and to develop essential life skills. I'm going to actually now turn it over to Paula, who's going to talk more about the kits and how we circulate them. And I'm also going to give you guys this handout that I forgot to give you at the very beginning. So I'll get those to you.
All right, I brought two kits, and I'm going to let you guys, I'm going to pass one around so you can look at it. There are 8 kits total, with 2 each containing specific tools and recipes to bake specific foods. So we have bread, cookies, muffins, or pies. I brought along a muffin kit and a bread kit, and I'm going to show you what's included in the bread kit. We'll see how this works. Thank you, Lily. So there are, first of all, there are leveled recipes that we made to fit with the tools that they have in the kit. And so there's an easy, medium, and then a more difficult recipe, so people can choose what to create from the kit. We also have a coupon from People's Market that allows people to go to People's Market when they are having their market and get $15 off of items at that market. Then there's a bowl and a thing to roll your dough out on, and a rolling pin. Also, all of the bread recipes that we included can be baked on a baking sheet rather than in a bread bowl or a bread pan. Our measuring cup is able to measure any size. So it's a nice way to have just one instead of a lot of multiples. And then we have also a couple of measuring spoons and a spatula for mixing up things. And all of it fits in this box. And I can't tell you how much time I spent measuring things to fit into that box so that we could have all the equipment we needed, but also fit into a box. The kits circulate for 3 weeks, and just like books, you can put them on hold, and if there aren't any checked out, or if the one you want isn't checked out, you can just go to the Library of Things shelves and pick it up off the shelf and go check it out. They're renewable if no one else has a kit on hold. That's my part, so I will turn it over to Lily, who will tell us how things have been going since we started circulating the kits and what's next.
Hello. The baking kits are circulating consistently. Each type of kit has circulated an average of 1.5 to 2 times over the last 5 months, which makes sense given the 3-week circulation period. There have been minimal problems with circulation, with only 3 kits coming back with missing or broken pieces out of 36 total checkouts, which makes for less than 1 problem per month. Patron feedback has been enthusiastically positive. Our social media posts promoting the baking kits have averaged reaching 1,000 people on Instagram and 4,000 people on Facebook. We have also received 3 surveys from the baking kits, which is 3 more than we expected given the lack of responses for past collections in the Library of Things. All the responses were very excited about using the kits. 2 of them talked about a use for the kits that we had not considered. The patrons had just moved and could not find their baking supplies. All 3 patrons who filled out the surveys offered suggestions for future baking or cooking-related things to the Library of Things. While some of the suggestions were not practical for library circulation, such as cake decorating with lots of little tiny pieces that would be hard to circulate, this could be a jumping-off point for ideas for things that could be circulated in-house at the Southwest Branch's new teaching kitchen. Now that we've introduced the baking kits to you and shared some information about how things are going, do you have any questions for us?
So when they come back, do you have a process for, making sure they're sanitized and cleaned, or what's that process?
If the kits come back dirty, I can't remember her title off the top of my head, but Stephanie Meyer goes through and washes everything.
Oh, okay, awesome. The other thing I had, sorry, but I was curious about including like cookbooks, a list of books that tie in with what the kit is, like, a list. Do you consider putting that in the kit to say, hey, if you like this, you might try to check this book out on bread making?
We actually do have book lists for all 4 types of kits. I believe we talked to circulation about including those in the kits, and we determined that that was too much for them to handle, making sure that the book list
Not
was
the books,
in there.
just the list?
Just the list,
Okay, yeah.
They didn't want to have to double check for that every time one came back.
Okay.
But those do exist on our website, and I believe when the baking kits first launched, we publicized those as well. So-
Thank you. I think it's a great idea, too, and lots of fun.
Thank you very much, ladies. We appreciate your time tonight, and thank you for what a wonderful idea to add to our collection.
Thank you all for your time this evening.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda is some trustee updates. So again, tonight must be our nights for fond farewells. First to Kyle, and now we have a farewell to Fred Reisinger, who has served on the board, I know, 16 more than that year, 16 years and 3 months. He hung on a little bit longer while we found a new board member. So thank you so much, Fred, for your time, for your dedication to the library. We can't begin to thank you for all that you've done for us.
And a very important part of my life. I like it.
Thank you, Fred.
We are very grateful for your service.
My wife and I went on a cruise this summer, and we went to Europe, and we went to Finland. And I encourage you to look up the capital of Finland and its library. It is the most amazing library I've ever seen or could hope to see. And yet, there was a big, big part of a room that was devoted to English language materials.
Wow.
And it was pretty neat. But anyway, I like libraries. When I was young, my dad spent a lot of time at his job and was frequently across the river in Paducah, Kentucky. And my mother was a teacher primarily at the lower elementary level. She was a first grade teacher for more years than you can do that now. And she would take me, she always had a group of women friends, and they would meet and talk about things that were going on in the city. My granddad was sheriff, my grandmother was sheriff, so there was politics was kind of wild in my city, in my hometown. And my mother would frequently drop me off at the library, the public library. And it became my home, and I really fell in love with libraries, still am. When I went to teach up in the Chicago suburbs, moved to a little town called Itasca, and it was starting to build, and they had a library that was in a small little room on a city square. Well, in Illinois, you run for the library board, just like you run for an office here in Indiana. And I ran for the library board, and I made it on there. And I still today, when I get back in that region, drive past that library and run into the front door where there's a picture of me welcoming people in and to the new library. So as you might imagine, many libraries, but especially this one, have been an important part of my life. So thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Fred. Well, the good news is with the love of libraries, that means we'll still see your face around here quite often, or at least we hope so. So thank you again for all your service and the many years you've given to us. Along with farewells, we also have a hello, and we would like to welcome our newest Board of Trustees member, and that is Chris Hull. So Chris, if you can stand up so we can see who you are and welcome you as well. I hope the board can handle two Chris H's. That'll be very confusing. So again, when you communicate, you might want to clarify which Chris you're talking to, so that way we know who to respond. But either way, I'm sure you'll get a great response from either one of us. So, so thank you, Chris, for joining our board, and we look forward to many years of service from you as well. So thank you. We have now reached the time in our meeting for public comment. Do we have any members of the public that would like to step forward and address the board? Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned.